Welcome to the Business and Bubbly podcast. This is the place for women in business who are on the journey of building their big ideas and want to have fun along the way. It's for those of us who also know we aren't meant to do business or life alone. Hi, I'm Charity Majors, your host and the founder of Business and Bubbly. Think of this kind of like the can I pick your brain chats that you've always wanted to have with those who are doing epic things, plus business besties, hype girls, and getting into massive action towards your next big idea all in the same place. Oh, and bubbles, because if you're not having fun along the way, you're not doing it right. Together, we'll unlock what it means to be seen, known, heard, and championed all along the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and being a woman in business building big dreams. Each week, I'll bring you a quick sip business tip, as well as interviews from top experts that make you feel like you're getting bottle service for your business. We're having the raw and real conversations and chatting about all the things, the messy middle, the pivots, scaling, the good days and the bad days, because here we do real. It's where we can work hard, play hard, cry it out, and dance it out all at the same time without being judged. This is a place where we are in the arena together and we are each other's biggest fans because most of us have enough comments from the cheap seats. It's where our too much is par for the course and where the gaps of our not enough are filled in by the other epic women that are around us. It's where we can be unapologetic about the mission we are on, about the big dreams on our heart, and the business we are building without having to be perfect or have it all together, or even pretend to. It's a supportive community where business is being done amongst like-minded women, because when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. It's a place where you have the support around you to get out of your comfort zone and go after your big ideas, because even when you fail forward or when you reach the top, you know it won't be alone. Also, if you know anything about me, you'll know that I'm obsessed with creating platforms that lift up other women to be seen and heard and known. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite you to list your business on our directory called Find Women in Business. All you've got to do is text the word directory to 833-231-8098, and I'll text you the link back to get your free listing. This is also a great way to connect with other women in business from around the world, so definitely check it out. And now let's get to the good stuff. Grab a glass of your favorite beverage, Prosecco, bubbly water, or whatever your flavor is, and let's dive in. Are you with me? Here we go. Hey everyone, this is your host Charity Majors, and today's episode we are going to be talking about making decisions not as who you are today, but the decisions that your future self will thank you for and the decisions that your future self would make. And this, I'm going to give you a story about this because this is something that I am currently either processing through or just really grateful for as I am looking back at the decisions that I made with this certain situation. So a handful of years ago, when I knew I was wanting to be an author and write a book and get published, I had looked into what it looked like to be picked up or to be published by a major publisher. And what I quickly found out was that publishers look for authors and people that have large followings, large email lists. They have almost like a proof of concept. They have an audience. They have connections with other leaders and other influencers that will help them share with their audience to help sell the book. They are looking for people who are great speakers, who have speaking experience, because let's face it, publishers, their main goal is obviously to sell books. And that can happen by things like podcast tours, by speaking, by creating courses and brands and all of this stuff around a certain message or a certain book. And if an author doesn't have that experience, doesn't have marketing experience, doesn't have connections, doesn't have email lists and followings and people that will help promote and sell the book alongside them, then a major publisher isn't necessarily interested. So yes, you could have an incredible book. You could be an amazing writer. The message on your heart absolutely matters. And if you have like 400 followers and an email list of like 25 people, you still have some work to do if one of your goals is to be picked up by a major publisher. And as I was researching this a handful of years ago, I realized that I probably wouldn't have been picked up by a publisher because of where I was at. My email list was just starting. My following was just starting. I hadn't quite developed the message of what I was writing about. I didn't quite have proof of concept. And so what I ended up doing was self-publishing and starting, and I built out different courses and different brands and began to really speak about it. I published my podcast, so I was able to just kind of flush out different messages and see feedback and see which ones resonated and just start to grow my list and my following and my influence and just really make those connections. And so I published Meant for More, Igniting Your Purpose in a World That Tries to Dim Your Light. And we hit #2 bestseller, and it went around the world with over 1,000 women taking my course, and was this beautiful message. And it's something that, so with my ultimate goal, wanting to be picked up by a major publisher, and I'm telling you this because there's a moral to the story, so stick with me, wanting to be picked up by a major publisher, I began to make decisions that would get me to that goal. I began to make decisions that my future self would thank me for, that who I am today, I literally looked back recently and thanked that girl back then, a handful of years ago, that had no clue what she was doing, that didn't hardly know anything about email marketing, that didn't really know much about growing in my message and being a storyteller and copywriting and really making connections with other leaders and influencers. And I fumbled, I failed my way forward, and I got coaches and I joined masterminds and I learned along the way. And sometimes that looked like investing in myself when it was a big, fat, scary number that made me pucker up a lot and that made me have to show up as that next version of myself. It made me be the woman that learned about email marketing. It made me be the one that learned about audience acquisition and lifetime customer value and all of these different things that if you want to be picked up as a publisher or grow your audience, all of these things matter. And yay, recently I just signed on with an incredible literary agent and literary agency to now pitch my next book that is in the works to major publishers. And that wouldn't have happened, first of all, without a connection from another influencer, and the agency wouldn't have wanted to represent me as an author if I didn't have my large email list, if I didn't have the speaking engagements and the audience and the following and the connections and the friends and that I have today. And so I'm really excited to see what happens and to see what publisher picks up this next book. And so my encouragement for you is, what decisions can you make today that your future self will first not only thank you for, but making decisions as your future self? Okay, so not making decisions for who you are today and now, because sometimes that means that investing in yourself, going to an event, joining a mastermind, getting in the room, whatever that might look like for you, sometimes that's going to be really scary. But if you know that you have a certain goal, if you know that you are called to something, if you know that you are, whether it's meant to be a speaker, a community builder, a successful woman in business, an amazing mom, an amazing wife, whatever that might look like for you, you have to start making decisions today that look like what it looks like for your future self and what she would make. And as you go on the journey towards that goal, you step by step, decision by decision, begin to embody her. And my challenge for you today is to actually, when we're talking about our Business and Bubbly Rise Summit, because together we rise and like bubbly we rise. What decision would your future self make to get in the room? You already know that magic happens when you get in the room. You already know that maybe your next business partner, your next big idea, the next big conversation that yes, happens on stage, but more of the magic actually happens in the conversations around the table and in the hallway and in the hotel room at night and in the VIP party, kickoff party on Friday. Those are where the value lies. The people and the women in the room is where the value lies. And the connections that you're going to make is where the value lies. So what decision can you make today to get in the room in September 29th and 30th with us here in Boise to get to the Rise Summit? It might make you pucker a little bit to like get that ticket or to grab a girlfriend and say, okay, we're going to come to this together and you're going to like come with me. You're going to stay together in the hotel room. What does it look like for you to make a decision for the woman that can show up to Summit with the goal, with your future goal in mind? What decisions do you need to make today? What decisions do you need to make now to begin to step into her? And I can honestly tell you that every single time I've invested in myself, every single time I've gone in the room, every single time I have walked into spaces like our Rise Summit, and like what we are going to be launching from Summit, which is our next mastermind. When I invest in myself in those ways, when I get in the room in those ways, when I make the connections that I need to make in those spaces, my friend, it's almost like a down payment on who you're being called to be. It's almost like a down payment to your future success. And I can honestly tell you that the biggest growth that I personally have ever had has been in those spaces. It has been in the times where I've invested in myself, when I have gotten in the room, when I've made the connections. And so my encouragement for you today, not again who you are today, but as you are, as your future self, to make decisions and to get in the room, go to businessandbubbly.com/summit and get your ticket today before spots sell out. All right, my friend, I see you now and I'm proud of you now as you are today. And I'm going to challenge you to rise, because together we rise, like bubbly we rise. And to rise, we also know the value of getting in the room and surrounding ourselves with like-minded women, investing in ourselves, and putting a down payment on who we are being called to be. We'll see you at the summit. Go to businessandbubbly.com/summit. And I cannot wait to hug you in person and to see you there. And as always, cheers to your success. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope it brought some value and some fun into your business and life. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and even share the episode with a fellow business bestie who you know will love it. It helps us continue to attract top-level guests and reach more and more women who are on their journey in business just like you. Remember that when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. Cheers to your success.